Hello, hello, hello. I don't know if this is working. Hello, I'm live. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm super late today. I was live 10 minutes ago, but I was having technical issues with my YouTube live. And yes, Ladies Book Club is live. So I had technical issues on YouTube with my microphone. I can see that it's not red. I don't know if there is any sound, if there's going to be any sound on my YouTube live. But anyway, luckily I have Instagram, and Instagram works fine. So that's great. Luckily it works fine on Instagram. There going to be any sound, despite the fact that I put the right microphone. I don't know. Anyway, hello, Melissa. Hello. How are you? So that's comment tu vas in English. How are you? A quick recap of the chapters. Of the chapters 1 to 3. No, 1 to 7. Yesterday we stopped at 7, and we will start quickly. So we learned about Victor Frankenstein, this young man who is working on a creature. He created this monster. So we learned about Victor Frankenstein, who created this creature who doesn't have a name, and we learned that straight away when he discovered what he created, that it doesn't really look scared by what he created. So what are you reading? I'm reading Frankenstein, Melissa. So you probably know about Frankenstein. Yeah. So this is a short story. This is the real story of Frankenstein. So I read chapter 1 to 7, and today I'm going to read chapter 8 to 11. 8 to 11. So yes, so he created that, and he abandoned the monster, and then that monster feels completely lost, and he runs away. His dad writes to him, and we learn that his little brother William got murdered. Thank you. So it is Justine, this young girl who works for the family, and she is being accused straight away because they found a necklace, William's necklace, his mother's necklace, in her pocket, in Justine's pocket. So we accuse her of the murder of William, Victor's little brother. So Victor, when he learns about this, he knows he doesn't. You're welcome. It's a great way so you can practice your English, Melissa. So he knows that the creature is maybe responsible for it's kind of a selfish reaction that he has, because he's too afraid to reveal anyone that he created that creature, and how he created that monster is he's afraid that people will take him as a mad person. Yeah, so he's very afraid of what people will think of him, instead of telling the truth, and maybe and telling what he knows. So he has kind of a selfish reaction here. And well, yeah, so that's about guilty about the murder of his brother, of course. So he keeps it for himself, and instead he decides to pursue him or it, and kill it, and kill the creature. So this way nobody will be hurt. So he's going into the mountain, and then the creature finds him. So the creature walks towards him, and they have a conversation, and this is where we learn that the creature knows, well, talk. And he asks Victor to listen to his story before trying to kill him, and to tell his story, and that listen to his story and do what he asks. So he's going to ask him a favor. We don't know what it is yet. Now we are at the point where the creature is telling his story to Frankenstein, and we learn that he's, let's say, in the woods. Yeah, he's hiding in the woods, and he through a little hole, he is observing. We have the picture here. He's observing the life of this family. So this is Agatha and Felix, sorry, and sister, sorry, and they live with their dad, which is blind. So what the creature has in mind is to try to talk to the blind old man to maybe be liked and find and so this is where we stopped. And we learned that he learned how to, also another important fact is that he learned to, and by listening, Felix, who is his dad, so he's reading a lot of books, this is where he starts to think, but where do I come from? Yeah, who was I young at some point? I don't have any memory of being young. Who are my parents? And then also at some point he sees himself in the mirror, not in the mirror, but in the reflection of, and he is afraid him. Despite that, I know that I am ugly and I scare people. Well, in that case, I'm going to learn hard how to speak and how to behave well, so that I will try not to. So this way, I will not scare people. I will show people that I'm not a monster. But yeah, this is going to be a quite difficult task. So this is the reason why strategically target the old blind man to start to have a conversation so that people don't, well, that person doesn't judge him from his looks. But let's see how the father reacts. Okay. Their father alone in the cottage, I saw my chance. I felt very nervous, but I walked to the front door of the cottage and knocked. "Who's there?" said the man. "Come in." I went in. "Please excuse me," I said. "I am a traveler who needs some rest. Could I come in from the cold and warm myself by the fire?" He nodded, and then he told me that he was blind. He said that he was sorry, but because he could not see, he was not able to get me anything to eat. "That's fine. I'm not I sat down, but by the fire and explained that I was alone and poor, and that I did not have any friends or family. "That is very sad," he said, "but please don't worry. I'm family that I care very much about." I told him. "They are wonderful people. I am kind and helpful, but I'm very ugly. And I've lived a very different life. Because of that, they probably won't want to know me." The old man thought for a moment. When they talk to them, I explained that I had helped them and got to know them over the last few months, and that I really hoped that they would not be scared of me. "Where do these people live?" he asked. "What are their names?" I did not know what to say. This was the important chance I had been waiting much for me, and I said nothing but started to cry loudly. It was then that I heard Agatha and Felix talking as they returned to the cottage. I quickly held the old man's hand and told him, "Now is the time, and your family that I was telling you about. You are the people I really want to be friends with." Agatha and Felix walked in. It was horrific. I regretted ever thinking it might be possible to be friends with them. When Agatha's word, Felix immediately ran over to where I was sitting. He pulled me away from his father and onto the floor before hitting me as hard as he could with a large stick. I was strong enough to kill him, but I chose not to fight him. When he lifted the stick again, planning to hit me again, I quickly stood up and ran out of the cottage. Oh, how awful and miserable that day was. I was full of rage and hate. That night, after dark, I ran far and I decided that I hated all people. But most of all, I hated you. You were the one who had created me and had not looked after me. I read your papers again and discovered from then that you lived in Geneva. I wanted revenge. I wanted to find you and kill you, so I planned to return to Geneva as soon as I could. So just to remind people who haven't listened to my previous lives, you have on these graded readers book, you have the words in bold so that you can find at the back, you can find the translation at the back of the book. So revenge here is in bold, revenge here. So that means that so we can have a look and check how they describe revenge here in the book. So it says, you get revenge on someone when you do something to hurt them because they did something to hurt you. That's revenge. That night, after dark, I ran far. I wanted revenge. I wanted to find you and kill you, so I planned to return to Geneva as soon as I could. I began my journey as winter came, and there was snow on the ground. I was careful to travel mostly at night so that people would not see me. The journey was long and hard, but I had no choice. I was angry and needed to find you. And the closer I got to you, the more deeply I glad I was near you. I was resting in a small forest by the road when a young boy came running into the area where I was sitting. I suddenly thought that because he was so young, perhaps he had not yet learned to hate anyone who looked different to him. Could I possibly teach him to like and help me? I quickly reached out and caught him. You horrible monster! William, Victor's little brother. You won't see your father again, I told him as I carried him away. Let me go! My father is Mr. Frankenstein of anger. Then you belong to my enemy? And I'm going to kill you. The boy fought me and shouted horrific things about me. I wanted him to stop shouting. So I put my hand around his neck. Soon the shouting stopped, and he lay dead on the ground at my feet. I looked down at the body and felt a strange happiness because I knew that the boy's death. Then, as I was looking at the boy, I saw something around his neck. It was a very small picture of a very beautiful woman. I took it off his neck. Looking at it made me feel warm inside. Maybe it was the woman's calm and beautiful eyes. So I put the picture in my pocket. But then I remember everything that had happened to me and how I would never be able to have anyone to love me or to love me. I felt very upset and ran away, leaving the boy's body on the ground. Soon, I found an old farm building and I went in. Like all the other people I had met, she would surely scream and run away if she woke up and saw me. Why could no one see the real me? I felt angry and I wanted to punish. Now, if anyone found it, she would be seen as the murderer of the boy. I want you to do something for me. I am depressed and lonely. I need a female to share, a woman. Yeah. Must help me with this. So that's the reason why so often there has been films. There have been Frankenstein or one Frankenstein girlfriend or something. So there's been films about to have a companion, a friend that will look like him. So he wouldn't be, so that one wouldn't be afraid of him. Yeah. So let's see if Victor Frankenstein is going. The Promise. So that was the end of the creature's story and narrative. So now we are back to Frankenstein's story. The creature finished speaking. finished speaking and looked at me. He was waiting for me to reply, but I was shocked and confused. I was not really sure what he was asking me to do. Then he spoke again. If she is like me, then she will not think I'm ugly. And so you must do this of and understand me. You created me, and so you must do this for me. It is my right to ask for this. The last part of his story had made me very angry again. No, I said. I will not do it, and I don't care what you do to me. I will never make another dangerous, murdering creature like you. And who is talking calmly and wants to make peace? He replied. And you are the one who wants to kill me. If you killed me, then you would be a murderer, and you would be the same as me, except that you have a loving family and friends, and can live happily in the world. I cannot be happy, not without another creature who is like me. I am miserable. I will disappear. I will leave in peace. And you will never see me or hear of me again. But if you refuse, I have no, I will give hate. And most of all, I will hate you. So I ask again, will you do it? I felt sad listening to him. In many ways, he was right, and the words he used showed that he was intelligent and that he saw what a horrible and shocking monster he was. There was a I thought very carefully before I replied. If I do what you ask, will you promise me one thing? I asked him. Will you leave Europe and go somewhere far, far away from all? Yes, I promise. By the sun, by the moon, by the fire of love that go home and start your work. I will watch, and when I see that you have finished, I shall appear. Then he stood up and left. I watched from the mouth of the cave as he ran down the side of the mountain and then was gone. It had taken several hours for him to tell me his story, and now it was beginning to get dark. It was beginning to get dark. As I walked down the mountain, I thought about what he had said. What a terrible thing I had agreed to do. I returned home to Geneva as quickly as I could. See how ill and worried I looked. I knew that to keep my family safe, I needed to do what I had promised. I also knew that it would be much harder to make a female cut the horrible job. One day, I heard that there were some scientists in England who had made some important discoveries. Perhaps I knew that information would help them. So I told my father that I needed to go to England to study exciting new science there. It was decided that I would go to England for a year. And when I returned, Elizabeth and I would be married. Oh, I could not wait for the day. Oh, I could not wait for the day when I would be free of the monster and be able to marry Elizabeth and start. I left Elizabeth behind and began my journey to England. I'm just realizing that sorry, I made a mistake. I said there are films about Wife of Frankenstein, but this is where we get confused actually, because will he get married? We don't know. As a popular culture, we get confused because we often think that it's the Wife of Frankenstein, so it's the the creature's wife, but actually it should be the wife, the creature's wife. And but yeah, so sorry for the misconception or the confusion, but I have seen those kind of titles, and yeah, that can bring confusion, the wife or the female version of the creature, or if it's about Elizabeth, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. Temper that with a heavy heart I left Elizabeth behind and began my journey to England. My good friend Henry Clerval travelled with me, and I was pleased about this. The creature had said that he was going to watch and follow me, and perhaps I would be safer if Clerval came with me. We travelled in carriages and on boats and ships, and we looked out on the excitedly about his plans for England while I usually stayed silent. I was too miserable to laugh and talk with my friend. It was the end of visiting the country, and we decided to stay in London for several months. While we were in London, I contacted the scientist I needed to see, and I discovered lots of useful information from them. Of course, about the creature to him. Clerval had his own interest, and sometimes many days passed without us seeing each other. In March, we decided to travel to Scotland. Clerval wanted to see its wild beauty, and I liked the fact that it was for me to make the female creature in secret. Okay. We stopped and visited many places on the way, including Windsor, Oxford, and the famous lakes in the north of England. And now this region is called the Lake District, and it's a very popular place to visit. So hopefully one day I'll be able to visit because it's on my list. But it's often the place to visit when you go to England. We finally arrived. A few months passed. To reach Scotland. We knew some people in Perth, and they had invited us to visit. I saw my chance to be alone and start my awful work. I saw my him. I would now travel around Scotland on my own for a few months. I was beginning to get worried. Had the monster been a friend? I travelled to the furthest part of Scotland and took a boat to a small island. It felt like the right place to do my work. It was 5 miles out to the sea, and it was rocky, so not many plants and trees grew there. Only 5 people lived on the island, but I managed to rent an old falling down cottage where I could live. And so it was that I made myself another laboratory, and every evening I walked along the shore. Look, that's in bold as well. The shore is on the coast, of the rocky beach, and looked at the wild ocean. I hated my work, and I hated being alone in this miserable place. But I had no choice. I thought only about finishing this second new creature and about the day when I would have to see the first one again. So the first creature. So that's the end of chapter 9. So he is on his way to, he's starting building that female creature now. The creature returns. Chapter 10. It was about 9 months later, in the sky. I was I was thinking about the monster. It had been about 3 years earlier that I had started to make the first creature in my laboratory in Ingolstadt. I had not known what it would be like, and I did not know what these female creature would be like either. My head, he had promised to go far away and keep away from people, but his new female friend had not, and she wanted to kill and um if she wanted to kill people, it would be very difficult to stop her. What would the monster do if the new female hated him? What would happen if they had girls suddenly saw the seriousness of what I was doing and I felt sick? Could I refuse to do it? If I decided wrongly, perhaps many more bad things would happen. At that moment, I looked up and saw through the window the monster standing outside in the light of the moon in my laboratory. On the table, he could see the female creature that I was working on. Yes, this monster really had followed me across Europe. And here he was, and he knew that his female friend was almost ready for him. But oh, what had I done? What had I done? I suddenly filled with regret. I stood up and, shaking with rage, I immediately started to damage the female creature. I pulled pieces from her. I hit her. The monster screamed and then ran away. I felt the room. I left I left the room and locked it. And then I made a promise to myself. I would never make, but I could not sleep. Several hours later, I heard the front door of my cottage moving. I was terrified. There was nothing I could do. Moments later, the bedroom door opened and the monster walked slowly into my room. He wrote, I have waited patiently for months, but now you have damaged what you created. What are you trying to do? Have you broken your promise to me? Yes, I replied. I have broken my promise. I will never again make another creature. I cannot. Now, so every man can have a wife, but not me. Must I be alone forever? That's not fair. You will pay for this. I will make you sorry. So he is very threatening Victor Frankenstein here. So we can see the creature and of the creature. And we see all the papers here on the floor of his scientific research on the female creature, but we don't really see anything about the female creature on this image. So let's see what's next. I will not change my mind, I told him. Go, leave me alone. I will go, he said quietly. But remember this, I will be with you on your wedding night. Ooh. You monster. I jumped towards him, but he turned and ran out of the cottage. I hurried outside and saw him push a small boat out into the ocean and climb into it. I remembered his last words to me. Would he kill me on my wedding day? Poor Elizabeth! I could not let her see me die in front of her. So I thought to collect the body parts together and put them in a large basket. I carefully cleaned all the scientific objects that I had used for my experiments and I packed them into cases. Then, in the evening, with some difficulty, I took I waited until very late at night, and then I put the heavy basket into a little sailing boat. I sailed it about 4 miles out and pushed the large basket and what was inside it into the ocean. It quickly disappeared down into the dark water. I felt pleased when I had done it, and I lay back on the floor of the boat. I was very I do not know how long I lay sleeping there, but when I woke up, the sun was high in the sky. I was out on the Atlantic. It was windy now, and the water was no longer calm. Many hours passed, and I felt very sick as the boat moved and up and down and from the side to side. Then, just as it was beginning to get dark, I saw land. I was so happy. The land looked rocky and different to where I had come from. But as I sailed nearer, I saw that there was a small town. When I began to pull, the men appeared and started walking towards me. I thought they were going to help me, but instead they stopped and stood in a group and where I am? You know soon enough, one of the men replied. Why do you answer so rudely? I thought the English are well known for being polite and welcoming strangers. Well, you aren't in England now, and we, Irish, don't like murderers. Murderers? I repeated, shocked by what he had said. Yes, come with me. Last night, I could not believe what was happening. I did not know anything about this dead man. I had been alone on the boat since last night, but I have the truly awful things that happen next. Right, so this is the end of chapter 10. That it's him, the murderer. That's strange. Okay, a terrible shock. Final chapter of the day. I was taken to a large, important-looking building. An old man who was sitting at the front of the main room. Another man stepped forward and started to describe what he had seen the night before. He told the story of how he had gone fishing with 2 other men and how they had discovered a dead body in the beach when they returned later that evening. Describe exactly what you saw, Page, replied the fisherman. His clothes were dry, and he had no cuts on him or damage to his clothes, but there were black marks of fingers all around his neck. When I heard these words, I remembered the murder of my brother, and I felt sick. I was very shocked at me for a moment or two before turning back to the fisherman. Did you see anyone nearby that evening? Yes, just before we found the body, we saw a small boat in the water, not far from the shore. The boat was being sailed away from the beach by one man. There wasn't much light, just a little. And as he said this, he pointed straight at me. There was a silence in the room as the magistrate thought about what he had heard. Let's show him the body, he said at last. I want to watch him when he sees it. Follow me. Of course, I was more worried about the fact that I needed to somehow show them that I really was innocent. Two of the fishermen took me by the arms, and we were immediately feelings I had when I saw that dead body. Even now, I feel sick and miserable just thinking about it. Everything that had happened that day and all the worrying thought it was the body of my dear friend Henry Clerval lying on the table in front of me. So we can obviously get, oh, two other people have already been killed and now you're dead, my dearest good friend. And it's all because of my murderous work. The pain was too. I was I was then carried from the room and don't remember what happened next. I became extremely ill and lay for 2 months in bed, Justin and Henry. Then on one day, one day, sorry, I woke up feeling a little calmer. I looked around the small white room I was in and saw that it was empty except for the bed, and I then found that the door was locked. Some of the memories of what had happened came back to me. There is a very nice illustration here where we see the body of Henry Clay. Here we can see the two officers. I don't know, two men. Yeah, and we can see here Victor Frankenstein, that he is taken by those two people and brought to. Several days later, the magistrate came to visit me. He was a kind man and seemed to want to help me. I listened carefully as he spoke. I'm sorry that you are being kept in this awful prison. I have read, believe that you are guilty. Oh, lucky. I think that you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I hope that new information will soon be found that shows you are innocent. I listened carefully as he spoke. In your papers, I also found a letter from your father, which had his address on it. So when you were stood up and walked to the door, I opened it and said, "But now there is someone who has come to see you." "My father?" I cried. I had never been so oh, sorry. But now there is to see someone in my whole life. We spent a short time together, and he told me that he and Elizabeth were both well. In the days that followed, I became a little stronger, but which was a town almost 100 miles away. All the information was read aloud, and lots of different reports were shown to the course. To the court, sorry, to the court. One report said that chapter 11, so I'm going to stop and start just one second. So part 2, I am reading chapter 11. So we are here at the passage where Victor Frankenstein is in prison and his father is visiting him, but he will soon be released. Sorry, because he was just there the wrong place at the wrong time. So it will probably won't be accused, or he won't be sent to prison. So months later, I was called to court, which was a town court. One report said that people had seen me on the Scottish island at the time when Clerval's body was found, many miles away in Ireland. Oh, yet I myself was not very happy to hear the news. My life would be miserable anyway, whether I was in prison or not. How could I ever be happy again? Many of people I loved dearly, the monster now wanted to kill me. Slow journey back to Geneva. I wanted to return there as fast as possible. Lives of those whom I loved. I knew that the monster was likely to appear there again too. If he ever did return, then I would definitely kill him. I was now completely sure I would never again feel sorry for him after I slept. I had awful nightmares about his creation, and I saw his face with its horrible smile and his arm not share my true pain and my story with my father. Well, this is what he says. But maybe, who knows, if he had shared his story, who knows, maybe people would have believed him. Who knows? That's the thing as well. And in the end, is only worried about what people think and not what would be the right thing to do. Weeks later, we arrived in Paris and a letter came from Elizabeth. 18th May 1796, Geneva. Dear Victor, I am very pleased that you have reached Paris. You are not far from me. I really hope that you are feeling much better now. There is something I need to ask you before you return. We both know that our family has wanted us to marry in Ingolstadt, and now you're studying and traveling in England and Scotland. I need to know how you feel about me. Is there another woman that you love? I love you and want to marry you, but most of all, I want you to be happy. If you can only be happy with another Lavenza. I thought about my dear, sweet Elizabeth, and I felt a little happier. She was my hope for the future. If I could kill the monster, perhaps Elizabeth's love could. 6th of May, 1796, Geneva. My dear Elizabeth, I love you and want to marry you, and you do not need to worry. But I must tell you that I have a very big secret. It is, you will understand why I have been away from you and why I have been so miserable. I promise that I shall tell you everything on the day after we are. Okay. To see Elizabeth's smiling face, we decided to get married as soon as possible. My feelings were a mixture of excitement about marrying Elizabeth and being terribly frightened that the monster would then come and kill me. Soon the day came, and she and I were married. How wonderful that was, that she was now my wife. We happily said goodbye to my father and then left that same afternoon to go on holiday and stay in an inn. If you remember, this is a word, or if you know already, this is a word, bed and breakfast kind of things, more like a hotel in the country. We happily said goodbye to my father and then left that, but secretly I carried again our journey. I guess because of the creature that says that he will follow him, and because he killed his friend and maybe will follow him on his honeymoon. Well, this is what we will see in chapter 12 tomorrow. So tomorrow we will finish the book. So we will read and learn the end, learn about the ending of this story and whether Frankenstein, whether the creature, is going to do something. Well, on his wedding night, nothing happened. They got married. So we know that they are married, but is it going to So I hope that you enjoyed. I mean, if you are watching this as a replay, then I hope that you enjoyed. And if you please let me know in the comments what you thought about those chapters, and about the character of, and what about the creature as well. So don't hesitate to leave a comment and tell me about your thoughts. And otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. And yeah, at 5 o'clock, same time. This time I'll be on time. I'll make sure to be on time. Bye. Bye bye.